story of Chitraketu Maharaj. So we'll go through about 10 or 11 of these verses, and then depending on how everyone's feeling, we can continue on, or there's some verses from the Ramayana that I would like to read. So depending on how everyone's feeling, we can pick one or the other. But just to give a recap of where we're at, so so this is the story of Chitraketu Maharaj, who was the emperor of the world. He was a very opulent, very successful king. He ruled over the entire world, and he married one wife, and then he wasn't able to get a child from his first wife, so he married another woman and then kept marrying again and again and again, still not having a child from any of his wives until he married 10 million queens, and he still did not have a son. So despite having all the opulence in the world and being the most uh, well-to-do with strength and being the most powerful, he was still very unhappy because of the lack of a heir to the throne. So um while he's living with his kingdom and with his wives, one day Angira Muni comes and decides to visit him, and he receives him very well and worships the Muni while he's there at his palace. And then Angira Muni is able to recognize that that there is something wrong with Chitraketu Maharaj. There's a reason for his distress and anxiety, and he's able to just experience that from his behavior. And so he asks what's wrong, and he asks the well-being of his family and his subjects and everyone, and inquires about, you know, what's the cause of his distress. And that's where Chitraketu Maharaj reveals that, you know, he's distressed because he doesn't have a son. So being extremely pleased with Chitraketu Maharaj, he performs the sacrifice. I think that's where that's where we'll start reading now. So this is verse 26. So I don't know who the readers are.
So, Kameshwar Prabhu, Jagannath Gopal,
Yes,
Prabhu, and Vamshidhar Gopal Prabhu, three of them.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Shall I read, Mataji? 6:14.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Srimad Bhagavatam 6, Canto 6, chapters 14, verse 26. Tatapahi Mahabhaga Purvaihi Sahagatam Tamaha Yatatarema Dushtaram Prajaya Tad Videhinaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. Therefore, O great sage, please save me and my forefathers who are descending to the darkness of hell because I have no progeny. Kindly do something so that I may have a son to deliver us from hellish conditions. Purport. According to Vedic civilization, one gets married simply to have a son who is needed to offer oblations to his forefathers. King Chitraketu responsibly desired to beget a child so that he and his forefathers might be delivered from darkest regions. He was concerned with how to get pinda, oblations in the next life, not only for himself, but also for his forefathers. Therefore, he requested Angira Rishi to favor him by doing something that could help him get a son.
Do you have any comments or reflections, Prabhu?
Yeah, actually, this yes, Mataji, actually, previous earlier sessions we discussed at length about the importance of having a son to give oblations and pinda pradhana to four ancestors. We discussed it at length in our previous sessions. Actually, this, as far as for a devotee is concerned, like this is insignificant actually. So we don't care even for, I mean, devotees won't care even for mukti and mukti, bhukti. They don't have both consciousness of mukti and bhukti. So they don't are very much particular about their material opulences, and also for the after death oblations like Pinda Pradhana and all. They don't give much importance for this. Only rather they focus more on getting Krishna Prema and how can I serve devotees of Krishna. That is the way of thinking consciousness of the devotee. But here, Angir Muni is very much, King Chitraketu was very much hankering for getting a child. So he approached, when Angir Muni approached him by the God's plan, so he just was asking him, like, how I can get children, because he expressed his unhappiness by for not having son and all. Actually, Angir Muni is one of the 6 Mansaputras of Brahma, and he is father of Brihaspati, the great learned priest of demigods. So Brahmaji is he is one of the 6 Mansaputras of Brahmaji, and he has his sons as Uttaya and Samvarta, these sons of Angir Muni. So he, even now it is known that he is even now also Angir Muni is performing austerity and chanting the holy name of Lord at a place called Angir Muni. When I searched in Srimad Bhagavatam, more than 10 verses his name was mentioned. Like so, Bhagavatam purports, including translations. I think I just came across 12 verses where Angir Muni's name was mentioned actually. So yeah, that's what in this verse he's just asking Angir Muni the way to get a child, especially a son, to give Pinda Pradhana and oblations. Yes. That's what I wanted to add.
Thank you, Prabhu, and thank you for the background on Angira Rishi. So yeah, like you said, we kind of discussed this already in the previous session about the importance of having a child, and when you're in the process, when you're on the path of bhakti and practicing the principles of bhakti, that path is perfect. It is the spiritual path that that is the most perfect, and you know, whether you have a child or don't have a child, in the process of practicing bhakti is not as important as it might be if you're following like Karmakanda. So even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that abandon all types of religion and just surrender unto me. So in that regard, you know, as devotees, we don't have to worry so much about the Pindadan and liberation of the forefathers and ourselves by having a son and who would be able to perform those sacrifices for the forefathers and the whole lineage. So yeah, if anyone else, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So this word Pindadan comes in Bhagavad Gita 1.41. Sankaro narakayeva kulagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaroya eta esham lupta pindodaka kriya. So one of the reasons given by Arjuna to not fight is also this pindadan, that he's saying that if I fight, then the cascading effect of that is going to be that there will be Varna Sankara or unwanted progeny. And that because of that unwanted progeny, the Pindadan is going to stop. And therefore, the forefathers will suffer in the hellish planets. So, like that, Arjuna is saying. And then, interestingly, in that verse, in the purport of that verse, Prabhupada quotes this famous Bhagavatam verse, 11.5.41. Devarshi bhutapta niranam pitrinam na kinkaro nayam nrinicha rajan sarvatmana yaha sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam pariritya kartam. So anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. So I guess one important point here is Sarvatmana yaha sharanam sharanyam. So one who has taken to the path in all seriousness. So that is where the subjectivity comes in, I think. And so it's like it's proportional. The degree of our surrender will decide how much we are, not obligated. So I see it that way. And unless I'm not Sarvatmana yaha sharanam sharanyam, until then it is I should be doing at least some of these things. I feel. I don't know if anyone wants to shed some light on that, because I'm not at a state where I am completely dedicated. So what happens then, right? That is the question.
Yeah. And that's kind of related to the same question, I guess, of, if we're supposed to follow astrology or not, because it's kind of the same idea where, if we don't feel fully surrendered, then, should we be following some of the practices recommended in astrology? I don't know if anyone wants to answer that.
Yeah, actually, just Mataji, I just want to add a couple of points here. Very nice point, actually, Jana Gopal raised. During our Bhakti Sastri class, we got this discussion at length, actually. So where one has to leave all the Varnashram dharmas and all the, like Madhavendra Puri says that with lot of humility, I'm just begging forefathers to excuse me and the avatars to excuse me. So that stage is really, really very highly elevated, and really it is debatable. Like one where at least me, so-called devotees. I am a devotee. I need not to do any any these Pitrupindas and all, like abdikams or yearly ceremonies for the forefathers, fathers and all. Is it really we transcend it, or I don't know? At least we need to. As far as my personal opinion is concerned, we need to perform still, even though we are doing trying to be perfect our lives in the given path, following the given instructions as much as possible. But still, I feel we need to perform these rituals also, at least as far as forefathers is concerned, because demigods, okay, like say, it says that Shraddha karma is you need to do with Shraddha. But demigods and all, like we do Devatarchana and demigods and all, it is we don't need Shraddha, but we don't need Shraddha Karma needs a lot of Shraddha. So when we are performing, our priests will say that Shraddha Karma needs a lot of Shraddha and austerity, need to be very clean, and you need to be very particular in following rules and regulations. So personally, I feel that still a practicing devotee need to do up to some extent fulfill these Pitru Karyas also. Like this is my personal opinion. I don't know, but I want to hear from others. This is a real forum where we need to take the directions, like in performing our bhakti and simultaneously doing all the varnasrama dharmas. So it is
yeah, just in this context, Mataji, can you pull up this verse for me, please? 7th canto, 7, 10, 22. This answers the question to this particular point. So 7, 10, 22, Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is Nrsingadev and Prahlad Maharaj, and this is Nrsingadev's instruction directly to Prahlad Maharaj, specifically on this Shraddha ritualistic ceremony. So this answers the question. If you can pull up this verse. Yeah, this one. Yeah. So my dear child, your father has already been purified just by the touch of my body at the time of his death. Nonetheless, the duty of a son is to perform the Shraddha ritualistic ceremony after his father's death, so that his father may be promoted to a planetary system where he may become a good citizen and devotee. So here the Lord himself has touched Hiranyakashipu, and the Lord himself is saying that nonetheless, to Prahlad actually, nonetheless, the duty of a son is to perform the Shraddha ceremony. So as Jagannath Gopal Prabhu said, as Kameshwar Prabhu said, there are certain ritualistic ceremonies that we have to perform as devotees in this world, and we have to keep doing them. It's our duty, our dharma to do it. So I hope that answers.
This is very interesting, because when we talk about this topic in context of Nrsimhadev's one second.
Yeah, it is interesting because Nrsingadev, it is said that 7 generations. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly my point. So whenever we talk about this topic in context of Nrsimhadev's pastimes, we often end up quoting only that part where it says 7 generations after, 7 generations before, will be delivered. But then this is really interesting. I never knew that this verse existed. And I mean, we are talking here about Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat, Prahlad Maharaj.
Exactly. So this is what we need to understand, that we consider ourselves as devotees, pure devotees. So we cannot escape from the responsibilities of this world that is given to us. But on the other hand, we must not become overly attached to them. Like supposing I don't get a son, I cannot keep on lamenting, regretting, oh, I don't have a son, what's going to happen? I don't have a son. Do what is given to you, and don't as Nitya mentioned last time, don't overextend or do over-endeavor. Over-endeavor was the word she used. So don't over-endeavor for these things, but do whatever is in your level according to the ritualistic ceremonies that you have to perform. But don't over-endeavor for those things and suffer. Focus more on Krishna. So I just wanted to mention this. Nitya wants to say something. Hare Krishna.
No, sorry, that's exactly what I was going to say. That's why I lowered my hand also. The same point that you just pulled it right out of my mouth.
So please, dear devotees, please keep this verse in mind. So even in the case of astrology, which Sindhu Kanya Mataji so nicely brought out, that also the same thing keeps coming up. I've spoken to several astrologers on this. What they say is that, yes, we are not pure devotees, but it is okay to consult astrology, but don't overly depend on it. If they give you a warning that this is not a good time for you, act on it. If they ask you to do some demigod worship, just do it. But don't overly depend on it. It is a very thin line actually here. Sometimes we tend to overly depend on it, because if astrology starts working in your life, then you'll put Krishna aside and focus more on astrology. That's where the danger is. That is why we must always be under the guidance of someone who will tell us, hey, you're stretching the limit here. Don't go too much on that side. So just wanted to mention this. Vamsidhar Gopal Prabhu, please go ahead.
Yes, yeah, many important points here, Prabhu. So, the same discussion I wanted to connect this to the Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. Like Prabhupada have said that we are devotees of Radha Krishna in Aishwarya Bhav. So in the Vaidhi Bhakti, we are supposed to follow certain rules, regulations, sadachar, and some ritualistic activities as the part of our worship towards the Lord. And so this is how the Sahajiya sect came into existence, that they gave up all the sadachar, all the rituals, or all the niyamas as a part of bhakti, and they thought that only devotion unto Krishna is everything, and so-called devotion, which is not as per the Shastras. So the rules and regulation as recommended by Shastra are also part of devotional service, but as everyone mentioned, that just sticking niyam agraha is not of use. We have to take it in the Krishna conscious mode and then use it in Krishna's service. But performing these activities like Pindadan, Lord Shri Ram have like pastime of doing Pindadan for the Shrath Maharaj. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did Pindadan. Lord Shri Krishna used to do these rituals every day in Dwarka, in his house of worshipping Devatas. So Lord, through his avatars, also have shown that in the human form, we are obliged to perform some dharmic activities, and at the same time trying to progress towards pure devotional service. But the last question that was raised about astrology. So Prabhu, there are like references about devotees referring to astrologers as well. Like Yudhishthir Maharaj, when Parikshit Maharaj was born, he referred to astrologer to know about how the future of the child is. And then and everyone was happy when it came to know that this child is gonna be Chakravarti Samrat and a pure devotee of the Lord. So again, even if the astrology is utilized in a good way, as a part of bhakti, then it can certainly be used. And on the basis of astrology only, we decide so many, like Panchanga is like the Ekadashi dates, all the tithis, for all these purposes, the Muhurta for date installation, and so many other things, astrology is used. So ultimately, everything can lead to Krishna if taken in right way, I think.
Yes, Prabhuji, I agree, Vamsidhar Gopal Prabhu. And I know devotees who have taken astrology so seriously that Krishna has been sidelined also. Initially, we all start by saying that, yes, we should take astrology and that will help me in my bhakti. But when you start seeing results of astrology, you start taking more shelter of it to such an extent that your dependence on Krishna will reduce. So that's why we have to be very, very careful here. I hope I'm not confusing you, but
No, Prabhu. Yeah, that's exactly that. That's perfect, actually. Yeah. So yeah, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur completely gave up his like he was a great astrologer, but he gave up his practices once he became the. Yeah, so even Prabhupada used to say that it's not of use. The palmistry and all, just for like trying to guess our material lives based on astrology may not be. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for this nice discussion. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for all your inputs. So we'll continue with the next verse. Vamsidhar Gopal Prabhu, do you want to read?
Yes, yeah. Shri Shuka Uvacha Ityarthita sa Bhagwan Krupalur Sutta Shapayitva Charantvashtram Tvashtarama Yajadvibhuhu. Translation: in response to the request of Maharaj Chitraketu, Angira Rishi, who was born of Lord Brahma's mind, was very merciful towards him. Because the sage was greatly powerful personality, he performed a sacrifice by offering oblations of sweet rice to Tvashta. Can I read next verse also?
Anyone have any comments on this?
ज्येष्ठा श्रेष्ठा च या राज्ञो महिषीणां च भारत नाम्ना कृतद्युतिस्तस्यै यज्ञोच्छिष्टमदाद्विजः. O Parikshit Maharaj, best of Brahmaratas, the remnants of the food offered in the yajna were given by the great sage Angira to the first and most perfect among Chitraketu's millions of queens, whose name was Kritadyuti. Next. Yeah. Okay. Can I read this one too? Or
Maybe we'll let the next reader. I think it's Jagannath Gopal Prabhu.
Sure, Mataji. अथाह नृपतिं राजन् भवितैकस्तवात्मजः हर्षशोकप्रदस्तुभ्यम् इति ब्रह्मसुतो ययौ. Thereafter, the great sage told the king, O great king, now you will have a son who will be the cause of both jubilation and lamentation. The sage then left without waiting for Chitraketu's response. Purport: the word harsha means jubilation and shoka means lamentation. The king was overwhelmed with joy when he understood that he would have a son. Because of his great jubilation, he could not actually understand the statement of the sage Angira. He accepted it to mean that there would certainly be jubilation because of his birth of his future son, but that he would be the king's only son and, being very proud of his great wealth and empire, would not be very, very obedient to his father. Thus the king was satisfied, thinking, let there be a son, it does not matter if he is not very obedient. In Bengal, there is a proverb that instead of having no maternal uncle, it is better to have a maternal uncle who is blind. Okay. Okay. The king accepted this philosophy, thinking that a disobedient son would be better than no son at all. The great sage Chanakya Pandit says, Kortha putrena jatena yona vidvan na dharmikaha kanena chakshusha kimva chakshuhu pidaiva kevalam. What is the use of a son who is neither a learned scholar nor a devotee? Such a son is like a blind, diseased eye, which always causes suffering. Nevertheless, the material world is so polluted that one wants to have a son even though he is useless. This attitude was represented in the history of King Chitraketu. I'm still laughing at that Bengali saying suddenly Prabhupada is so hilarious anyway. But yeah, very serious verse also that often we are so attached to having material comforts that we kind of we know that there is a flip side to the material comfort, there is a flip side to the pleasure that I am getting, but still we are so attached that we although we know the flip side, but we still are okay with it. We think, okay, there is a flip side to this, but still I think I'll at least get to enjoy, and so let me do this like that. So yeah, I mean, I can think of examples in my life also where I must have thought like that. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, this is like a principle of the conditioned existence where we tend to weigh the pleasures more than the pains, and that's where I guess when we get the mercy of a devotee, the association of a devotee, the devotee actually teaches us that no, the fact that you're overlooking the misery is not fair, is not right, because it's you are suffering because of that. Yeah, we when we preach also, we tell about the three kleshas, the real problems of life: birth, old age, disease, and death. So some students, they think, why are we even talking about these things? What is the use? Birth is done. Birth, old age is yet to come. Disease, I'm fine now. And death, I don't know when it's going to be there. So then we say, no, not only these four, but you also have Adhyatmika Klesha, Adhidaivika Klesha, Adhibhautika Klesha. So like that, we tell them that there is suffering. There is suffering, and of course, we can't do it in a Western context. That will be disastrous, like focusing on the miseries. But in the Indian context, I'm talking about when I used to preach to the students there, we used to tell about this. So this is not a pessimistic idea that, oh, there is suffering, oh, there is birth, old age, disease, death. It is a realistic worldview that we need to have. Otherwise, we'll just perpetually keep on weighing the pleasures more than the pains, and then perpetually go on in this cycle of birth and death, pleasure, pain, duality, good, bad, punya, papa, etc., etc. So in that sense, I guess it is quite pertinent for us to understand the spirit of this verse, and that way try to Krishnaize whatever we do, including our children as much as possible. I guess we can't force them, but definitely we can try to, at least. So I have often, and I have disturbed Gaur Kumar Prabhu so much about this, like how should we bring up children, how should we take care of them and give them Krishna at the same time. And it's a huge topic, and but the good thing is being here, being in the association of Gaur Kumar Prabhu and like-minded senior devotees, I have gotten a very balanced approach towards this. So that is a good thing. And yeah, that's his free will. Prithu's free will is his free will, whether he wants to become a devotee or not. But it's just that I guess I have to be careful that even on a subtle level, I shouldn't, impose anything on him, thinking that, it's that is one extreme, that if he doesn't take to bhakti, then my life is useless, his life is useless. The other extreme is that, oh, whatever he turns out to be, it's okay. At least I have a son. That is the other extreme. So I guess I have to somehow hit the balance here. And it's going to take a lot of growing up for me personally as well, in order to hit that balance. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share. Sorry to get into personal stuff, but I relate to this quite a bit. So
Well, thank you, Prabhu, for sharing your personal thoughts on this. And like you said, it's finding the right balance between the two extremes. That was a very good point. So I just wanted to mention a few things about this verse that I thought were interesting. So the first thing is that Angira Muni, he says this statement about how his son is going to be the cause of jubilation and lamentation, and then just leaves. So Chitraketu doesn't have the chance to ask anything or say anything, and Angira Muni just kind of just leaves. And that's just, I think Angira Muni could have expanded on what that meant, but I think he understood that Chitraketu Maharaj was really not in a position to listen to anything other than the fact that he was happy to have a son. So even if he would have said anything, the joy of Chitraketu Maharaj for, being able to have a son would be so great that he wouldn't have listened to anything else that Angira Muni would have said. And we can see that, this desire, and like we discussed last time, this need for a son was so extremely strong for Chitraketu Maharaj. He married 10 million wives, to complete this desire. So he was waiting for this, and he had gone through a lot of trouble for, getting a child. And finally, he has this assurance from a sage that he is going to get a child. So the joy of that was so much more, and in his mind there is no greater pain than not having a child, because he had everything in the world, still he was unhappy and in pain because he didn't have a child. So in his mind he probably thought that there's no greater pain than this. So even if the son is disobedient, even if the son, you know, doesn't listen to him, and it becomes prideful, that's still less pain than not having a son. And as Jagannath Gopal Prabhu said, like, he had these two thoughts in his mind. One side is this son is going to be the cause of lamentation, and the other side of his mind is, you know, happy because he's going to get a son. So there's this dissonance in his mind, this cognitive dissonance, and he resolves this duality in his mind by, you know, convincing himself that it's okay to have a disobedient son. And he doesn't really think beyond that, what that means, you know, what kind of lamentation would he be going through. Those he doesn't even go to the extent of thinking that, because he resolves this dissonance by convincing himself that this is the best thing that could ever happen to me. So yeah, that's something I wanted to share. Yes, Krishnan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, nice, very nice explanation, and thank you Jagannath Gopal Prabhu also for sharing this. You know, while you were speaking, Mataji, I also realized that so many of our scriptures talk about parents aspiring for children, like even you know, Pandu and his, you know, and their, you know, they got their children from praying to the different, you know, Kunti got it by praying to the different gods. Then Dasharatha, he had to do a yajna and he got the payasa, and then after that he got the 4 sons, and so many of them are like this. And then also there is also the lamentation is always there, like Dasharatha, you know, losing his you know, having separation from his son, and then being extremely sad. So the lamentation is there all over in all our scriptures. It's just that we don't pay attention to it. But here, both Srila Prabhupada and you know, Vyasadeva, you know, they have called it out so nicely that even though you know, even though a son, you know, is a cause for joy, but the material life or the attachment that the material life will bring is the root of lamentation. And so you know, in some sense, you know, the child is also our step into this material. Though a child is extremely special, I don't want to make it sound like a child is a material thing, but you know, that relationship, if it's not used in the service of God, and if it's used in the service of just you know, our material desires, then it will lead to lamentation, is what I took out of it also.
Kameshwar Prabhu, do you want to say something on this, Prabhuji? Because you have realizations, I know. Kameshwar Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, yes. Yeah, actually, no, in the sense, actually, only 2 things I recollect, only even from scriptures also. Wherever there is war endeavor, at least for kids, like our Krishna Prabhu told about example of Dasharatha and also Chitraketu in the present context. So war endeavor, even Dasharatha also war endeavored for kids and all. Finally, what happened? So that leaded to depression, that is distress only, no? How far, because of sons only, both of them got into lamentation, like depression stays in the life, like, you know, even Dasharatha left his body because of that son only. So throughout his life, he lamented for son, hankered for son, and finally lamented for due to son only, because of the separation from son. The same thing happened with Chitraketu also. So ultimately, my conclusion is like in the life, like the more you lament for any particular thing out of passion and all, definitely it leads to distress. That is a thumb rule. Like, see, for example, if you see on the roads, you can see the highways, especially in India, I have seen speed thrills but kills. So when you are speeding up your car and all, it's fine. It gives you thrill, but ultimately you may end up with distress, like with an accidents and all. So wherever there is passion or war endeavor, definitely there will be distress. So that is, I mean, I realized in my life also. So if I hanker too much for anything out of passion and all, definitely it ends up with some distress, some sort of distress. The same case if you see that in Bhishma, in Bhishma's case, Bhishma's story, his Dasarath puts a lot of conditions, like I want this, I want my grandson has to get the kingdom and all those things. He put a lot of conditions out of passion. Ultimately, what happened? Vichitravirya and Chitrangada both of died at very early age. That this condition really helped them anyway. So all these things come not only from scriptures. In general, also I just observed this out of like as you grow old, you will see a lot of these experiences in your personal case as well as in friends and others. By witnessing all these things, this type of conclusion I mean I got it. I mean I'm not against the passion and all, should be there up to some extent, but too much, as Nicha Mataji already told, over endeavoring is definitely not recommended for the devotional life, at least. That is only my conclusion, Prabhu.
Wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. And one more thing to add, I guess, like you said, how the more passionate you are about, achieving something, that can be the cause of a lot of distress. And I wanted to say that, even if you get what you really wanted, my Guru Maharaj always says that in times of a lot of happiness, when you really achieve something that you really wanted to, you should always remember that not everything is as good as it seems. And then when something really bad happens, you should always remember that nothing is as bad as it seems. So kind of just trying to stay neutral, appreciating the good, and being regretful of the bad is okay, but not being too caught up in the happiness or the distress keeps us stable in our spiritual path. Okay, the next reader, I think, is Kameshwar Prabhu, right?
Yeah, shall I read 16.14.30?
Yeah, maybe we'll have to read a few verses because they're pretty short.
Okay. So 6.14.30. Sapitat prasanad eva Chitraketur adharayat garbham krutad devi kurtikagner twatmajam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. After receiving the semen of Lord Shiva from Agni, conceived a child named Skanda, Kartikeya. Krutadyuti, having received semen from Chitraketu, became pregnant after eating remnants of food from the yajna performed by Angira. Yeah, again, in this, I think there is no purport for this.
Yeah, there's no purport.
Yeah. Actually, here, again, Chitraketu got, he did yajna with the help of, in the guidance of Angira Rishi, and he got that remnants, yajna remnants, he gave it to his first wife. See, again, you see that here, you see, he had 10 millions of wives. So suppose if it is, if he destined to have a child, one wife is enough. Like, no, see, out of passion only, out of hankering, lot of like, I want. See, he ended up with 10 millions of wives. So this is also need to be a little bit discussed here. So he can still have one wife, and he can still hankering for children and all. He might have ended up with Angir. Finally, he might have got one child, and there is no question of envy from other Madajis. No, but anyway, this is Krishna's plan maybe. But see here, if you carefully observe, if you are destined to get something, you will get it. Even if you are not over hankering, see, over endeavored here. So he should have ended up with only one wife. Still, his chances of getting a son. Finally, he got his son with his first wife only. That is a little bit interesting. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add, Monsi, from here. Yeah.
Can you read the next verse too, Prabhu?
Yes, Mother, yeah. 16.14.31. Tasya anudinam garbhaha suklapaksha yuvodupaha vavrute surasenesha tejasa sankairnrupa. Translation. King, after receiving semen from Maharaj Chitraketu, the king of Surasena, Queen Krutadyuti gradually developed in her pregnancy. O King Parikshit, just as the moon develops during the bright fortnight. Yeah, here also there is no purport. Yeah, still, yeah, Angirasa, Chitraketu and his wife Krutadyuti is they are on their way to make their family. So she got pregnancy and going to get a child.
Maybe Vamshidhar Gopal Prabhu, you want to read the next two?
Yes. अथ काल उपावृत्ते कुमार समजायत जनयन शूर सेनानां शृण्वतां परमां मुदम्. Thereafter, in due course of time, a son was born to the king. Hearing news of this, all the inhabitants of the state of Shurasena were extremely pleased. Yeah, child. Rishto Raja Kumarasya Snata Shuchira Alankritah Vachayitva Shisho Vipre Karayamas Jatakam. Translation. King Chitraketu was especially pleased. After purifying himself by bathing and by decorating himself with ornaments, he engaged learned Brahmanas in offering benedictions to the child and performing the birth ceremony. Yeah, so here everything is going on nicely, like a moon. Pregnancy of Kritadyuti developed, and eventually she got a child, and now, like from the Harsha Shoka, like the Harsha time is here. Child is born. King Chitraketu is performing all the rituals and donating to Brahmanas, seeking their blessings for the great future of child. And in this way, time is passing. And I really like the point that Kameshwar Prabhu mentioned about over endeavor, like how if Chitraketu Maharaj was destined to have a kid, even one wife would have been enough. But
Mm.
he endeavored and he got like millions of wives, and still he wasn't destined for that. So in the beginning few verses, it is said that Chitraketu Maharaj was completely capable of having a child, but because it wasn't in his destiny, despite having millions of wives, he couldn't get a child. So he tried to get more and more wives, but still it didn't work. And then Angira Rishi, who is like a Manas Putra of Brahmadev, and very powerful sage, he could he could basically transgress destiny of Chitraketu Maharaj and get him a child by his prowess. So yeah, the story is on very interesting turn.
Yeah, it almost seems that the over endeavoring part of him got him into trouble because, as Kameshwar Prabhu said, if he had only one wife, he could have gone to Angira Muni and begotten a child from her, and he's still getting a child from her, but because of his over endeavor, he has, you know, 10 million other he has, you know, all these other wives that are now envious of his one wife that has a child. So his over endeavor got him into trouble because he was so absorbed with the happiness of this child coming into his life that he wasn't able to necessarily take care of all the other wives, which is why they became envious, and you know that led to eventually lamentation because of the death of his son. Yes, Nitikishore Machid.
Yes, very nice points that everybody is discussing about the passionate, like letting the mode of passion be dominant in our decisions in our life. It also, it is after some kind of trial on a certain task or a desire that we have, it may be revealed to us, like, if we are perceptive to it, in terms of what Krishna wants us to do, or through prayers, or through getting guidance from senior devotees and mentors, we may be able to get a perception of maybe this is our karma. This is what is written for us. Trying to mess with it too much and changing it by any means, or making our desires overpower our karmic whatever we've come up with, our karmic kind of a list of things that we can achieve in this world. If we try to mess with it too much, the result will also be kind of not favorable, even though it may initially appear to be favorable, as in this case of Chitraketu Maharaj. And also we looked at Kameshwar Prabhu mentioned about King Dasarath also. Both ended up in lamentation actually towards the end. I also know a friend of mine who actually wanted to have a child, and she tried various means by which all the possible the methods by which she can conceive, but she could not. And we as friends, we try to tell her. Of course, she's a devotee, but not in our sampradaya. And but she was very determined that she has to get it. So she went through surrogacy and making sure that she gets a younger women to bear the child and all that, so that the child can be healthy and stuff. So the actually the child was born in 22 months, and which is, normally it takes 40 months for the birth. So nobody can mess with the karmic, karma, or the this is like the true example of over endurance. I always it comes to my mind is that we just have to let it go sometimes. After trying enough number of times, the providence will try to tell us something. If we are perceptive, if we can receive that message and accept it, when that acceptance, maybe the grace will come. Maybe maybe our new learnings will come. Maybe that is the learning that Krishna wants us to learn. In that acceptance, I think that is very important as devotees, to accept the situation and not to overcome it by any means possible. I think that's one thing that I wanted to mention.
Thank you, Mataji. That reminds me of the verse in Bhagavatam, where it says the boat can't save the drowning man, the parents can't save the child. I don't remember what verse, maybe someone here knows, but yeah, like you said, no matter how hard we try, whatever is in Krishna's plan, that's gonna execute despite all our efforts and endeavors. All right.
Can I say, Nitya Mataji really touched important points there, especially that trying to take control of the destiny, our own destiny, and how it goes wrong generally. And I think it is very much connected to what Gaur Kumar Prabhu mentioned about astrology, that when we try to take a lot of shelter of like things like astrology, then like we are trying to change our destiny by some patches or some fixes, and it doesn't work very well in the long term. So yeah, I found it nicely connecting, Mataji. Thank you for elaborating it.
Okay. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, do you want to read the next 2-3 verses?
Sure. We are at 6:14:34, right?
Yeah.
Just one sec. Yeah. Tebhyo hiranyam rajatam vasam sya bharanani cha graman hayan gajan pradad dhenunam arbudani shat. Unto the Brahmanas who took part in the ritualistic ceremony, the king gave charity of gold, silver, garments, ornaments, villages, horses, and elephants, as well as 60 crores of cows, 600 million cows. And nothing much to add here, just how the culture that time was, that the Brahmanas were gifted with so many things when they would perform these ceremonies and rituals. And of course, they were qualified Brahmanas, and they would use it strictly in the pursuit of spiritual endeavor. So it is amazing how kings used to give. Even now, there is this culture where we give. Even like I have been part of so many rituals. Although people are a little stingy nowadays to give to the Brahmanas, but the Brahmanas are also very funny. They have like specific price for every ritual. So like today, so that we had a nice discussion about Pindadan. So I was looking today, when is my father's Shraddha this year, and it turned out to be on May 23rd, which is the day we are leaving for Sadhu Sangha. So I don't know how I'm going to manage that, but let's see. So then I was thinking of where to get it done, and then I saw this place in Edison. Nice temple, and then there are like um, price points for everything. You want to get this puja done so much. You want to get this puja done so much. Then naturally it will make the person who is getting it done stingy. So, but unlike now, in the previous ages, it was not like that. The Brahmanas would do it with their full heart without expecting any results, and the Kshatriyas and others who would get the things done, they would also be very charitable. So that way, it was a nice culture of exchange of effort, all for the benefit of humanity in general. So yeah, that's pretty much here. And then you want me to read the next one also, Mataji?
Sure, Prabhu.
Vavarsha kaman anyesham parjanya iva dehinam dhanyam yashasyam ayushyam kumarasya mahamanaha. As a cloud indiscriminately pours water on the earth, the beneficent king Chitraketu, to increase the reputation, opulence, and longevity of his son, distributed like rainfall to all desirable things to everyone. Yeah. Again, the benevolence of King Chitraketu is being spoken about here, and I mean, the only thing I'm reminded here is the first verse of Guru Ashtakam, that the mercy cloud. Guru is like that. Samsara dava nalalida loka tranaya karunya ghana ghanatvam praptasya kalyana gunarnavasya vande guru shri charanaravindam. So the Lord is like the ocean of mercy, and the Guru is like the cloud of mercy. The cloud of mercy gets that mercy from the ocean water, and then just like there is rainfall everywhere because of the clouds. Similarly, the Guru distributes that mercy to everybody, and through that, what happens? The samsara davanala, that the fire of material existence, the fire because of the clashes of ego and all such things that are there prevalent in Kali Yuga, they are soothed, they are reduced because of that mercy rain that is showered by the Guru. So yeah, tangent from here, but that's all I could think of here.
Thank you, Prabhu. Krishnan, Prabhu, go ahead.
Quick thought here. This reminds me of chapter 16 in the Bhagavad Gita, charity in the mode of passion. Where he's doing the charity, but he's doing it for the opulence and longevity of his son, and not for obviously not for the right reason. So I think Srila Prabhupada says charity should be only be done to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, that's very relevant verse to this, and it's a good reminder of, we might have the right intention, but still we have to think back and contemplate on why we're actually performing sacrifice or charity. And I think we covered pretty much everything in this verse, but Chitraketu Maharaj, he had a lot of opulence, and so he was distributing all of that, wholeheartedly to all his subjects, because even the whole kingdom was awaiting for the birth of this son, and for there to be an heir to the throne. So everyone was, celebrating. This was like a festival for everyone to celebrate that the king, finally had a son. So there were festivities everywhere. Everyone was celebrating. And that was just adding to the joy of Chitraketu Maharaj, not even thinking about the whole lamentation part that Angira Muni had hinted at. So, Okay, then we have two more verses, and then I'd like to read something from the Ramayan that is somewhat relevant to the wives of Chitraketu Maharaj. So next is Kameshwar Prabhu again.
So shall I read Mataji?
Yeah, the last two verses, the 36 and 37.
6.14.36.
Yeah.
Krutralabde lebde atha rajarshes tanaye anudinam pituho yatha nisvasya krutrape dhane sneho anvardhata. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. When a poor man gets some money after great difficulty, his affection for the money increases daily. Similarly, when King Chitraketu, after great difficulty, received a son, his affection for the son increased day after day. Yeah, this is, shall we go? I mean, shall I go for next verse? Because there is no purport. Is as expected, no? King Dasharatha also felt same thing, like after a long time when he gets children, he felt very, very attached, very much attached to them. And they became a major part of his life. The same thing happened to Chitraketu also. So he overwhelmed with the overjoys of getting a child for a long time. So completely he involved with his first wife who gave this child and also to this child. So he attached so much to both of them.
Yeah, and he's increasing his attachment and affection, so it's growing more and more and more every day.
Yes.
Okay. All right, verse 37.
Yeah. Matustva atitaram putre sneho moha samudbhavaha krutadyutehe sapatninam prajakama jvaro abhavat. Yeah, as discussed in here, translation again, and the translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. The mother's attraction and attention to the son, like that of the child's father, excessively increased. The wives seeing Krutadyuti's son were very much agitated, as if by high favors, with a desire to have sons. So, as discussed, they developed the other Sapatnis, co-wives of Krutadyuti, they developed a sort of envy, naturally, because they are in the material modes, so they got obviously they got united. The rest of 10 billions minus 1 wives, they got agitated, and they combinedly they wanted to do something. They developed a sort of, they also developed a sort of desire to have son.
Yeah, so I guess one thing that can be brought up here is that all the other 9,999,999 wives of Chitraketu Maharaj could have given their love and treated Kritadyuti's son as their own son, but because of that, they couldn't have that mentality, and they plotted against Kritadyuti's son, and they lost all of their intelligence. So That's the destructive nature of envy, is that it makes you lose all your intelligence and leads to very destructive behavior. And I guess since you know, we're celebrating Lord Ram's appearance day very soon here, and I wanted to read something from the Ramayana, and I wanted to show the similarity between, you know, what all these wives of Chitraketu Maharaj, their envy, and the envy of Kaikai, Queen Kaikai, that was developed because of Manthara. She herself actually loved Lord Ram like her own son, but because of the influence of Manthara, she developed this envy, and that's why she, you know, exiled Lord Ram and decided to, you know, force Dashrath Maharaj to make Bharat the king of Ayodhya. So if there's any more comments, please go ahead. Otherwise, I'll read a few verses that kind of show, you know, how this this envy pretty much transformed Kaikai, and how Manthara's words completely flipped how she felt about Lord Ram. And just like the wives of Chitraketu Maharaj, she had very destructive behavior in terms of, you know, completely, in a way, ruining the peace and the happiness of Dashrath Maharaj's family. So this is from the Valmiki Ramayana. And this is where Lord Ram it's the day before Lord Ram is going to be the king of Ayodhya. So his coronation is going to happen the next day. And so there's festivities going on everywhere. And so I'll start reading. So beholding the festivities and finding Kaushalya bestowing large gifts of money on the Brahmanas, Manthara, a hunchback hereditary maidservant of Queen Kaikai, who had accidentally ascended the roof of the palace, inquires of Sri Ram's erstwhile nurse the occasion for the festivities, and on being told of Sri Ram's forthcoming installation, feels enraged and approaching Kaikai instigates her to stop the installation. Kaikai, on the other hand, feels rejoiced over the news and gifts her a jewel as a token of her pleasure. A maidservant of Kaikai's parents of unknown birth, who had actually lived with her ever since she came to Ayodhya, ascended by chance the roof of her palace, which shone like the moon because of its white color. From that palace, Manthara, as the maidservant was called, looked round the whole of Ayodhya, whose main road had been watered, nay, which had been strewn with lotuses and lilies here and there. It had been fully decorated with costly buntings and flags and sprinkled with sandal water, and was crowded with men that had gone through a ceremonial bath, by washing their head as well, which was ordinarily left out, apparently because of their growing long hair. The city was rendered noisy on all sides of the chief of the Brahmanas moving hither and thither with flowers and balls of sweets, for being offered as an auspicious present to Sri Ram on the occasion of his installation in their hands. It contained temples with white doorways made of crystal, and was resonant with the sound of all sorts of musical instruments. Manthara was seized with great wonder to see how Ayodhya was brimming over with citizens thrilled and overjoyed at the news of Sri Ram's installation and decked with rows of tall flags. So you can see how, you know, it's a somewhat similar situation where the whole kingdom is celebrating, but, you know, there's Manthara here and eventually Kaikai, who cannot participate in the celebration because of their envy and their alternate, you know, desire. Seeing Sri Ram's former nurse standing not very far from her, dressed in white silk, her eyes blooming with joy, the said Manthara inquired of her, "How is it that Empress Kaushalya, Sri Rama's mother, full of supreme joy, is freely giving away riches to men, though devoted to wealth herself? Please also tell me where such excessive rapture is being felt by these people of Ayodhya, and what is the overjoyed emperor going to get done?" Tomorrow, under the asterism Pushya, the Emperor Dashrath will Emperor Dashrath positively install in the office of Prince Regent the sinless Ram, who has conquered wrath. Burning with anger, Manthara, who scented foul play in the move of the emperor, spoke as follows to Kaikeyi even while she was reposing in bed. Get up, O deluded one. How can you keep lying down? Peril stares you in the face. You do not perceive yourself threatened by a flood of misery. Though loathed by the king, you boast of your good luck in the shape of the goodwill of your husband, endowed as you are with a graceful appearance, like the current of a river in hot weather, your good luck is but evanescent. Addressed in a harsh language, as aforesaid by the enraged hunchback who suspected foul play in the installation of Sri Ram as Prince Regent, Kaikeyi, for her part, gave way to great sorrow. Kaikeyi, in her turn, replied to the hunchback as follows. Is not all well, O Manthara? For I find you dejected in appearance and sore afflicted. Incensed to hear the question of Kaikeyi, which was couched in sweet assent, Manthara, for her part, who was a master of expression, so spoke as follows. Nay, getting all the more dejected to hear the nonchalant question of Kaikeyi, the hunchback, who posed to be her great well-wisher, replied as follows, inspiring dejection into Kaikeyi's mind and estranging her from Sri Ram, scion of Raghu. The very great work of ruining you, against which there is no remedy, has commenced, O Queen. King Dashrath is going to install Lord Ram in the office of Prince Regent. Plunged in fathomless fear on your score, nay, full of agony and grief and burning as it were with fire, I, as such, have come here to make known to you your best interest in this matter. Great suffering is sure to come to me due to your suffering, O Kaikeyi, and my advancement is sure to follow in the wake of your advancement. There is no doubt about it. You are born in the race of kings and are the favorite consort of a king. How is it that you do not know the sternness of kingly duties, O royal lady? Your husband is deceitful, though professing piety, and hard-hearted, though using sweet expressions. Still you consider him as blessed with a good heart, and in the way stand deceived by him. Standing by your side, speaking kind words that have no meaning, your spouse is going this very day to invest Kaushalya alone with fortune in the shape of sovereign powers for her son. Having sent away Bharat to the kingdom of your kinsfolk, the evil-minded king, for his part, will install Ram next morning on the throne of Ayodhya, now that all the thorns have been completely removed. Like a venomous serpent reared by a mother on her own person with intent to do good to it, a puerile lady, an enemy under the appellation of spouse, has been held by you close to your bosom, along with your son Bharat, who you have been dealt with by the Emperor Dashrath quite in the same way today as an enemy or a serpent would behave if ignored. Ever fond of ease, you have indeed been ruined with your friends and relations, O young, inexperienced lady, by the wicked king, uttering falsely kind words by going to install Ram on the throne of Ayodhya. As such, O Kaikeyi, promptly accomplish what is opportune in your interest and protect your son and your own self and me too, O lady of marvelous insight. Flooded with joy to hear the report of Manthara, that lady of charming appearance rose from her bed like the orb of the autumnal full moon. So I'll stop here in the interest of time, but you can see how Manthara, poses these extreme statements about the character of King Dashrath and his intentions, all because of her envy and all because she wanted Bharat to be the king and wanted, her her queen Kaikeyi to be, I guess, the mother of the king of Ayodhya. And for that, she was ready to go to any extent. She was ready to say any extreme statements about Lord Ram and Dashrath Maharaj, her own husband, about how he's you know, he's gonna abandon Kaikai and she's not gonna be, she's gonna be a maidservant to Kaushalya because her son Lord Ram is gonna be the king, and how Bharat Maharaj is gonna get, or how Bharat is gonna get thrown out of the kingdom by Lord Ram because after he becomes king. So these are all things that she uses to influence Kaikai. And similarly, we can see in Chitraketu Maharaj's story how all the wives that didn't have, you know, sons, they conspired together against killing this son because they thought that they're not the favorite wives of Chitraketu Maharaj anymore. Before, he used to treat all of them equally, but now because Kritadyuti has a son, she becomes special and she becomes the favorite wife, and all of these other wives get neglected and they sort of become maidservants, and they can't tolerate that hit to their ego, and so they conspire, and their envy leads to very destructive behavior. So I'll end there and I'll let anyone comment or have any reflections about this reading.
Yeah, Mataji, I have just a couple of points. Thank you very much for your nice leading the session. You opened the session with the word astrology. That is the first opening talk. Regarding that, I just wanted to add one point. Actually, in the olden days, when child takes birth, this is one of the samskaras they used to do. Jataka karma. So that with intention that they want to see the tendency of the child, like in what way he is going to be, like what is his tendency, with what mode he came here. Now, is he like going to become in which part of profile he wants to go into get. So that is the main idea, like whether he is going to be a devotee or is really devotee plus king. And like in case of Parikshit Maharaj, like that they want to know the child's tendency depending upon his puro karma, puro-janma vasanas and all. Accordingly, they used to train him or put him. That is the idea. That is scientific, more scientific actually. So even now also we can make use of this tool in that way, provided. But Shastra is right. Astrology is one of the Vedangas. So Vedas, Vedangas. So it is Shastrically, it is scientific, completely scientific. But the only thing is we are not getting right scientists for there who expert in this field. But in the olden days, rishis used to study 100% absolutely exactly correctly. But now nobody is there. Everybody is commercialized, almost all, like 99%. I mean, 1% is there. If you are lucky enough, you can catch hold of him and find out. But as Gaurakumar Prabhu told, we should not be like, for example, in my case, so whenever there is New Year comes, especially in Telugu lunar year, we used to know what is going to happen in the next 1 year. What is my future? How many plus points? How many? What is the income? What is the expenditure? How many people will scold me? How many people will overall? They will praise me. All these things they will calculate. They put some numbers. And I used to go that what is going to happen to me and what is going to happen to my child in this year, like that. So that is definitely a weakness. So we have to work on that. So as Gaurakumar rightly mentioned, that we should not too much depend on it. We can make use of is it as a tool. Like for example, if you come across like like so much expenditure is going to happen because of this plan's position and all, immediately you can think of donating huge amount to the temple. Otherwise, it will go in a wrong way. You have to spend that money for a wrong purpose, for an hospitalization or in an accident, something like that. So that is the idea. Like that is one example I'm telling. So that means we need not every time we need not to go to the astrologer and consult about it and all. But we need to, whenever any distress come which we are not able to overcome, like where we need really some help, like this may happen not many times, like most of the times Krishna wants to give the difficulties which we can or with little effort we can overcome. But just in case, like if our poor karma is so strong that we need to go through very tough time, at that time we may use it as a tool judiciously. So this I'm trying to practice. I'm not really not 100% there, but with the help of Gaurukma Prabhu and all, no, I am just trying to not to waste too much time on these things. Like, rather focus on one-pointed focus rather than doing this. This I wanted to add this point, and 2 more minutes I will take regarding the child brought up and all. No, our Jana Gopal Prabhu told that I don't force Prithu to be a devotee or not devotee. This is a good point actually. So Prithu is also already a devotee. He came into Vaishnava family, means he is having some percentage in the previous life. So now as a parent, what we need to do is we need to put it. Maybe he's higher platform than his parents. Maybe, but definitely he's came into Vaishnava's family. So definitely he's having some balance in his account. So what we need as to do is, as a parents or as friends or as his member of satsang, we need to facilitate to water that plant, whatever bhakti lata bija is there, we need to water it, and we need to, in a subtle way, he said, in subtle way also I don't want to do that, but subtle way we have to do it. In a gross way we may not force him. We should not force him anyway, definitely, because modes will act. How strongly modes will act, we don't know. How strongly he will oppose modes also, we don't know. So definitely modes will pull him back, but we need to supplement everything in a subtle way, in a tactful way, to give all the facilities, like to make him to learn mridanga, and to make him every week to bring him into satsang and take prasad, and all the things in a subtle way. We need to do everything to bring him into bhakti, but in the gross way we should not force him. That is only, I just got this point. I wanted to add. That's also. I'm sorry for I took more time in this session.
Yeah, no, by subtle I meant, Prabhuji, like manipulative, being manipulative. That
up to some extent we need to. Up to some extent we need to manipulate, because I'm seeing children, parents. Now he's okay, but after getting 6-7 years old, the other environments, the schools we are sending, unless we don't have any other special arrangement, we need to send to the public school. Definitely he will be having all these problems. So we need to little bit put extra effort. That doesn't mean we are forcing him. We are directing him in the correct direction. We need to put effort. Completely we should not leave it like that, no, because in satsang many people will bring all the kids put together at one place and give some classes, some mridanga. So somehow they engage their energy in the direction of devotion indirectly. So that is needed. We should not completely say that I don't want to force. We need to put in a certain way without sensing him that we are forcing him.
Yeah, no. See, like I'll give you a subtle way example. Let me see. Forcing in a subtle way means, see, what happens is, like Gaur Kumar Prabhu himself was telling me this example. So many of these kids who went to these devotee schools, right? So some of these kids, when they graduated from the school and everything, and then they could see their own capabilities to be very nice, they turned back to their parents and said that you actually did a wrong thing by putting us in this school. We would have fared better if you would have put us in better schools, right? I'm talking about manipulation, in the sense that it shouldn't happen that I manipulate and I force him to do something in a subtle way, and then later on when he actually gets the intelligence to understand, then he should not go back and say, you just took advantage of my childhood, my childlike mentality. That is not. Of course we have to give him satsang, we have to give him all those things. But then what by you know what I meant by subtly, one subtle way could be to kind of from the childhood itself to keep telling them there is no other thing in the world except Krishna consciousness. There is no other thing, no other thing, no other thing. You keep telling them, you keep grilling them like that, brainwashing them like that. And then when they grow up and see, the world outside, and they will come back and say that what all you told me during childhood was all nonsense. You just to satisfy your own whims, you just emotionally manipulated me by telling me that everything is bad, there is nothing in them. Although from a tattva perspective that might be correct, but then at their level we have to see how that applies. So
Prabhuji,
this is my understanding. So
no, Prabhuji, you bring up a really good point, which is, it's almost like the Truman Show, the movie, and you don't want to make it like the Truman Show. At the same time, I also agree with Kameshwar Prabhu in the sense that it is our responsibility to create a nice conducive environment which can counterbalance the effect of Maya, which is because Maya is just so powerful that we will have to counterbalance this. And I'm sharing this with you as a parent who's not done a terribly good job. So the one, actually, when my kids were young, we had a sannyasi visit our home. We regularly, whenever there are some sannyasis, we always try to call them. And this sannyasi actually said that whatever you want your children to be, you have to be 200% of that. You yourself have to be 200% of that.
yes.
Because in every generation, it reduces 50%. Is what he says. So that means that here is an opportunity for you to redouble your Krishna conscious efforts.
Definitely.
Because that is what will encourage your son to take it up to say, I'm not going to do that much, but I'm going to do 100%.
Definitely, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Wow, that is brilliant point, Prabhu, Krishnan Prabhu. Because many times when it comes to parenting, we start pounding whatever we have on the child, whether subtly or grossly, but we forget about ourselves. So we forget about our intense devotion to Krishna. That's another exit, actually, in one sense, like astrology and things like that. We have to fly our own plane first, we have to save ourselves first, in the sense that we have to be intense in our sadhana and things like that. And then as a side effect, you will automatically see everyone around you become devotees automatically. Like in the case of Srivas Thakur, like everybody, because they were connected to him, but he was very, very intense in his sadhana. So that's a brilliant point, Krishna Prabhu.
Also, I guess not just intense, but intense as well as happy, I think.
Yes.
Agree.
Yeah.
That intensity might be there, but if we are miserable, if we are making the kids miserable by our intensity, then that intensity will kind of backfire, I guess.
Yes.
Completely agree. I think there we can use the over-endeavoring formula where.
So we just finished, Nitya and me just finished the ISKCON CPO training just last week and this week. So what we learned there is that many parents, using the same thing that Kameshwar Prabhu just said, it can be misleading, in the sense that if you just think that, oh, because we both are devotees, our kid is also a devotee, and definitely is a devotee, very elevated soul. And then we tend to, like, as Jagannath Gopal Prabhu mentioned, we tend to push the child a lot towards KC, or we tend to go to the temple and start doing services so much that we neglect the child. So in the CPO training, they were telling so many examples of cases like this, where the child was neglected because the parents were doing very intense seva in the temple. So all these things, I mean, I don't want this to be a parenting session, but all these things come down to just one thing, that at the material level, we have to care for the child. as we would do, like how anyone else would do. Don't pound the philosophy of KC, but intensify your sadhana and see if that goes to the child in a very nice and mature way, not in a forceful way. So I feel that we must give the best education according to our capacity to the child. We must put them in the best schools, give them the best material training, and then let them choose. Let them choose later on when the time comes whether they want to take KC seriously or not. Let the option go to them, and not let it not come from us. I think that's what Jagannath Gopal Prabhu is also saying, and I think in a very subtle way, Kameshwar Prabhu is also hinting that only.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add one thing. All great points about how we should be the role model for the kids and how we should be 200% so that the kid can at least get to a decent level of being a following the role model. One thing I'm just kind of like a bystander. I'm just noticing in many of the things is that I've noticed that this in the Sunday schools and in programs, in festival programs, so much emphasis is made on memorization of verses and competition and who tells the best story and how the kids are able to narrate the story and all that, but a simple understanding of like basic human needs are not mentioned. I'm sorry to say this, but I just feel like the kid has to be a first understanding of like emotionally intelligent is what I'm trying to say, like ability to self-regulate themselves, ability to empathize with other kids, not in a competitive mood, but empathizing, being inclusive of other kids. I'm not saying because my child is a special needs or anything, but then I've noticed that part is completely missed out in our majority of our temples and Sunday schools. Is that aspect of empathy for children is not at all focused. Where if other kid is hurt, we should show empathy, or it's not always about competition and memorizing verses. Anybody can do that, even if they missed out in the young age to memorize verses, all 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. Later on, they can always memorize or not. It's not the end of the world. But what these kind of things about soft skills is definitely necessary for the growing minds. And Ramayana is a best example where everybody everybody thought that Bharat Maharaj is is very cunning, and they were all thinking that when the Chitrakoot, even Lakshman and Guha, they saw that Bharat Maharaj is coming with 60,000 elephants and infantry and all that to maybe make sure that Lord Ram is dead, so that he, even after 14 years, he will not, so much misunderstanding is happening. But actually he came so that he's coming so that to bring Ram back home. And every single character in Ramayana beats, in terms of morality, in terms of, like, I don't want to use the word morality, but in terms of the character wise, they are like supreme. These are the examples that we should let the children understand and grow with. And if we have this strong layout or the foundation with the kids, that no matter what, they empathizing with others and being the best of the human beings is most important than memorizing verses. Then Krishna will definitely be pleased with such an individual. I'm very sure of that, than saying that, hey, can you say the 16th chapter 6th verse in 2 seconds. It's not I don't know, sorry, I just felt that I should share this.
I agree with you, Mataji. I totally agree with you.
Vamshikar Gopal Prabhu also has raised his hand. Sorry, go ahead, Jagannath Prabhu.
Yeah. No, no. I just wanted to say that I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you actually, Mataji, Gaur Kumar Prabhu, Krishnan Prabhu, Kameshwar Prabhu, and Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. This is like really important and sensitive topic that me and Sindhu Kanya also like. I mean, as a to-be parents, like so uh we discuss about these things, and Mataji just touched like how even the devotee kids sometimes they feel there is a competition. Actually, they're really stressed out sometimes in the pressure of like being performant, being like presented as a well-versed devotee in the temple or among the group of their friends, devotee friends. Even the kids, like they have to be like they have to somewhere show that okay, they are nice devotees and who can play mridanga well, who can be more like responsive or better. And then like we were talking to a devotee girl like she said that she couldn't be friends with other devotee kids because she's not that level of devotee, something like that. So it's certainly there that this competitive, there is already competition for like I mean, the Indian parents especially, they want their kids to be competitive, and it enters into the spiritual life also. So that factor of empathy, I really found helpful. But Prabhuji and Mataji, the question about as you mentioned about the schooling, so I mean, I have heard so many opinion about this thing from different devotees, like if like the homeschooling and like sending to the devotee schools or like the regular private or public schools. So like from what Prabhu said, that we should allow kid to go to the regular schools, but that way like they can, I mean, their way of thinking can get really affected, they may not be able to appreciate Krishna consciousness. Nowadays there are I mean, in even since early school days, there are a lot of other like things that they should not be knowing. They start getting exposure to those. So what is the trade-off for this, Prabhuji? Like, what would be the right way to think about these things? Because there are some people around us who says that they are gonna homeschool their kids because the schools are not, I mean, since childhood they start learning mm, a lot of junk which they don't want their kids to learn, and then there is this opinion also. So what is the best way?
Yeah, I mean, Nitya can say more because we also tried homeschooling, and we know several devotees here in New York, New Jersey who tried homeschooling, and they failed miserably because homeschooling is extremely intense, Prabhu, extremely intense in the sense that the mother or the caretaker should be able to take care of the material and the spiritual needs of the child, and it is not easy because when you start doing that from 8 to 5, 8 to 6 every day, where the child is not listening, or it becomes a little extremely intense, and you try to teach the child something, math, and then you get confused. Should I teach them Bhagavatam now? Should I teach them Bhagavad Gita now? It becomes very intense and very, very confusing and very tricky. So unless a parent is willing to sacrifice and go to such an extent, they should not do homeschooling, is my opinion. We have seen so many cases, and Nitya can add more, but that was our thing. And then we asked Maharaj also, Guru Maharaj, and then he immediately said, put her in school for social skills and other things. So I know that in the past, several years ago, 15, 20 years ago, Maharaj was encourage homeschooling, put them in Gopal's Gardens, which is a devotee-run school. But these days, Maharaj is very, very particular also that after seeing so many examples, that he's very particular that kids should be given the best training uh, possible from the material perspective as well. And then when they come home, then you give them like complete Krishna conscious atmosphere. So they see both, they understand, and then they make the choice later. That is my understanding. anybody wants to add, I think.
Very,
Nitya.
very nice point. Very nice point, Prabhu, because I think, to be a good homeschooling parent, you have to be so committed and so involved in it that it means you're literally sacrificing, your life and your career to a certain extent. And some parents are willing to do it, and if they are built the right way, they can do it. I think all glories to them.
Yes.
But not everybody is, and I think it's just a reality on the ground. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to chime in for one quick point for Nitya Mataji's empathy point. I think it's so critical. It's so critical that I think we all want to raise good human beings, and obviously if they're good human beings, and then after that if they also become God conscious and Krishna consciousness, then it's Krishna conscious, then it's icing on the cake. But if they become Krishna conscious, externally, but not good human beings, then we would have failed miserably.
Yeah, brilliant. That's why it is always said, first be conscious and then you can become Krishna conscious. First become a good person and then you can become a wonderful devotee. So these things are very, very essential as good parents to impart to our children about the mode of goodness qualities first, in a very nice way. If you present that, then Krishna consciousness can also be presented, and then they can take it up very, very nicely in a very mature way. So I've seen some parents here in New York, New Jersey do that, and they're very, very successful. Rather than just from day one, mridanga de do, harmonium de do, piano, memorize verses, this, that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I've seen parents who have done that, even in Pune, Chowpatty. The kids they don't even want to utter Krishna now. They're completely gone away. Several examples I can give. So we have to be very, very careful, as Nitya and Krishnan Prabhu said, to give them the basic mode of goodness qualities.
This empathy, like since we are talking about these other external skills like mridanga, shloka, etc. I think all these. So, for instance, shloka recitation. Why do we do shloka recitation? Of course, personal nourishment, but we want it's a preaching movement, so we might expect our kids to become preachers. But then for preaching also, I think the foundational quality required for effective preaching is empathy, I think, rather than all these other external factors like how much we know, because unless there is empathy, how will we actually connect to the audience? It will just be a show of how much I know if I don't really connect to the audience. So I think that has to be the basic foundation. So yeah, it gets really complex, you see all these now. I mean, I can imagine, okay, if I try to teach these, if I and Aishwarya try to teach these qualities to Prithu, and then he goes to a Sunday school and he sees that, everybody's in a rat race, okay, let's not say rat race, but in like a race to, learn more shlokas, do this, do that. And then, then we have to be intelligent enough and, make him understand that somehow that, he needs to develop empathy first. And I don't know, just
it's in the chapter 12, Prabhu, Anudvikam Karam Vakyam, the Krishna's favorite devotee. I think everything is there in the Bhagavad Gita, and I think that probably has to start, that whatever Krishna says he looks for in a devotee, start with those qualities. The verses will come automatically.
Yeah.
And if you keep reciting the verses will come automatically to any child. I don't think that that will be a concern at all. And if they are destined to be a preacher, they will become a preacher, even if they know verses or if they don't know verses. They'll still become a preacher. They may not become a Krishna conscious preacher, but it doesn't matter. They'll become a preacher.
Yeah, brilliant. So Kamesha Prabhu, just one final thing. Do you agree with this train of thought, or is there anything that we are missing here? Because I know that
No, no,
you are taking the other stance.
perfect. No, perfect. No, I'm not. I am with this only. What I am telling is we need to conducive atmosphere. We need to give the child. So let's say tomorrow he may blame in a different way also. Why you did not like name? I just went completely material. Why you should have given childhood itself? You should have given me a intense training in that all the basics of KC and all. Why you did not go? So blaming will come anyway if it is possibility is there for in both ways. But I am not. I'm definitely 100% whatever you discussed so far is perfectly. I agree with that. I don't have any different opinion. Yeah, that is definitely we should not force. And also, I agree with the kid going to the public school. There should be. And also, I am against the homeschooling. Homeschooling is boring. Like always, morning to evening, 24 hours. They are seeing only parents, not external world. But tomorrow they have to go to out and they handle with people. So I prefer I suggest public school only, not even devotee school and all. And as you mentioned, by the time they reach home, it should be very conducive to the case. That's what I agree with all the points.
So I know that the Gautama Prabhu mentioned about we tried homeschooling. Actually, we have been homeschooling only. I don't know why he used past tense. But actually we are currently homeschooling also. Although I don't see it as a failure, maybe he's
I'm not saying it's a failure for us. I'm just talking
Sorry
about.
about that.
No. I didn't mean to say that we are a failure or you are a failure or I'm a failure. That was not my thing at all. But I'm just telling what Maharaj thinks about it these days because that's what he told us immediately. Remember, he told us to put him in school.
No, but no. The thing is that it's individual. For our situation here, with raising a child with special needs, there are for me personally, and I'm sure Gaur Kumar Prabhu also can chime in, is that the public school is too brutal for a kid like Radha Kripa because her emotions are not understood, her feelings are not understood, and because she's not, first of all, she's not expressive in her speech. So many at many levels, any type of school, even if it's a devotee school per se, they are also human beings are running that also, and of course they are devotees, but it still won't work for her. So in our case, I feel it's a right thing to do. And so we are just doing our best, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, you
No,
want me to
continue.
sorry. So the only thing is, it's an individual case, Prabhu, Vamsidhar Gopal Prabhu. It's an individual case basis. It is not like one size fits all. So there are pros and cons on every approach. So like, there are pros and cons for public school, there are pros and cons for devotee school, there are pros and cons for homeschooling. So, so far, I've seen only one success story with homeschooling is Radhika Raman Prabhu. One success story. But there are, I'm yet to see many success stories, and so far we should have seen a lot of success stories, but we have not. So the thing is, but that doesn't mean that homeschooling is a failure or anything else. It is just that yeah, he's like the celebrity homeschool. Yeah, it's it's a success. It's great that it worked for them, but they're also they're also super kids. I mean, Radhika Raman Prabhu went to college at high school level, like something like that. He's like super brilliant kid. He was, and the thing is that at home school, it's not that we have to keep them at home all the time. It's not at all like that. Actually, we are hardly at home. Me and Radha are hardly at home. I teach her how to, like life skills. I teach her a lot of life skills. We go to grocery store together. I make her look at things of the prices of each item. I give her a list and she reads from the list. She puts it in the cart. She knows what a checkout is. She helps me with the checkout. So, life skills I teach them. So many things to teach them, that the public school falls short of. Kids who pass out of public school, like even my own brother's kids, they don't even know how to go and shop in a grocery store. Like they don't even know how to get a change back, like things like that, basic things. Of course, they'll eventually learn because they are all intellectually very advanced level. Eventually, when life, they have to do it, they'll probably do it. But I'm just saying that, these kind of life skills are essential. And it's not like homeschooling means being at home. It's just that the focus is very individual education for the child, like individualized education for the child. That is the homeschooling that I can see. Like if my child is great at reading, I can provide more opportunities for her reading and fan that ability. So but at the school they may not be able to do that. That is one. And I can keep going on about homeschooling, but I'm a big fan of homeschooling. I was pro schooling actually. Gaur Kumar Prabhu knows that I actually fought against him for not homeschooling. But now that I'm homeschooling now, I'm a changed person. I just realize how homeschooling opens up for so much flexibility in a kid's learning, and you can see where the kids' tendencies are and fan the tendency so easily, so nicely. Yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless.
As for me and Aishwarya, when we think of it, it is very clear to us. We won't be able to homeschool. We are just not capable of it. Forget about willingness. We are just not capable of it. So, yeah.
It's same with us also, Prabhu. Yeah, that's what I think too. But I think Mataji's like Mataji's insights give me like still we can have something at home also, and they will learn in the school also. So we can create an atmosphere just that we were talking about, so that they can have best of both, something like that.
Yes, Prabhu. Best of both. That's the right thing. That's the right way to say it.
And thank you for sharing what Maharaj said about this, Prabhu. That was really enlightening.
Well,
I
I don't want to make it like a general statement that Maharaj would, but Maharaj also, because he's so much connected to the super soul, so he actually gives different instructions to different people. So I don't want you to take this as one instruction that Maharaj always tells to everybody. So it's the case by case basis. So please don't take it out of context, because Maharaj knew that we have a special needs child and so on. And so at that point in time, he said this. That's all.
Yeah, that's what I want to mention. So when we asked if she was 4 years old, and so for kindergarten, we were wondering whether she should go to a public school or homeschool. So at that point, she said she was, in fact, Maharaj asked first question, how old is she? And then he said, at this point, she needs to play with other kids. So you should send her to school. So if I had asked probably 2 years later, maybe his response would be different. I don't know. I'm just saying. So it is not to be like one message for everybody. I think, like he connects to the person, and also Maharaj knows about Radha Kripa a little bit.
Yeah, but like Mataji, Prabhuji, you also mentioned that Maharaj in general is also suggesting, encouraging to give kids best education,
Yes,
and send them to best institutions.
yes,
So
that I've heard from several devotees in Mira Road and Chowpatty right now, that Maharaj is very particular, because there's been so many cases where kids have either left KC or they've become very anti-KC and or blame the parents, or there's been neglect. There's been so many issues. So that's why Maharaj is feeling that you give them the best education in terms of like karmi education, but home create that atmosphere where you can also teach them KC, like you told Vamshidhar Gopal Prabhu. You teach them, you show them lot of love at home. and then let them choose. Let them slowly take it up. You present Casey in a nice way, but don't force Casey. Don't force anything on anybody. Just like how we preach, we should not force Casey on anybody. Just present it. Let them take it if they want to. And I think that's the way to look at it.
So, yeah. Thank you so much. It really helps.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much, everyone. I think we should end here. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I really want to thank Sindhu Kanya Mataji for again leading a wonderful.
Yeah, it was
wonderful
very,
session.
very nice in the Kanya. Superb.
Thank
I
you.
love how you summarized the Ramayana towards the end. It was
Yes.
so beautiful how you connected the envy part that where we ended on the 37th verse, and you connected that to the mantra and Kaikeyi. It was so beautifully narrated, so relevant, and also for the upcoming festival, Ram Navami.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Mataji. Thank you
I
very much.
also really liked that connection actually. The connection, the exact time she's just flipped to Ramayana, correlating both. I really, like that intelligence. Actually. Yeah, very nice.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, this was a very inspiring session. Thank you, everyone, for all your inputs.
It shows that you actually prepared for this.
Yes, very well prepared.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Spend
Yeah.
time on that. And also, I want to talk to Vamshidhar Gopal for 2 minutes. So it's okay, Prabhuji. Are we busy? I think it's very late for you.
So I'll stop the recording, and then whoever wants to leave can leave. So I'll just stop the recording. I'll also have to take.